6 blockbuster trade ideas coming your way here on today's episode of 4 Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. I'm going to go through 6 trades that I think need to happen before the 2024 NFL trade deadline. Now, before we get there, Thursday is here, which means we got Thursday night football between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons. Pretty juicy NFC South matchup tonight. Tampa 3-1, Atlanta 2-2. Potential swing game here. If you want me to do a reaction video, post-game recap, hit that subscribe button. We've been doing these primetime post-game reaction shows pretty much every single Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night, but we need 20 new subs to do it again tonight. So if you want it to happen, we need 20 new subscribers from this video. Plus, of course, you'll get our daily free NFL and college football content if you subscribe, so don't miss out. All right, let's get to our first trade idea. Davante Adams to the Jets. And I know yesterday I said the Bills should jump in, and I still think they should, but the money's pretty tricky there. The Jets have the money. Aaron Rodgers loves them. Adams wants to be there. Just get this done. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Now, obviously, the Raiders are trying to get proper value back. Is that a third? Can they squeeze out a second? Doesn't sound like a first is going to be on the table. I've heard as low as a 4 could be the value for Adams. Can't imagine the Raiders just ship him to the team he wants to for a 4th-round pick. So seems like they'll settle somewhere in the middle there. Maybe it's a third. Maybe it's a conditional third that could turn into a second if they make the playoffs or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see. But it feels pretty inevitable that Adams is going to be a Jet. And it makes sense because Rodgers and him already have the chemistry. He knows Nathaniel Hackett in that offense, even if it's not a very good offense. And the Jets are all in. Robert Saleh on the hot seat. Joe Douglas potentially on the hot seat. Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't have a great year, he could be out as well. This is an all-in year. This is an all-in move. Make it happen. Tyreek Hill back to the Chiefs. Did a video around some Chiefs wide receiver trade targets, and I talked about this possibility. Now, Tyreek was asked about this after the Dolphins practice on Wednesday, and he said he loves being in Miami and hadn't really heard anything about that. What's he going to sit there and say? Yeah, trade me back to Kansas City. You can't tell me he wouldn't at least be open to the idea. Now, for Kansas City, they can absorb his money because the way his contract is set up, any team that would trade for him only takes on like $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million this year, which the Chiefs could do. Now, his contract after this year would be tricky, but you can focus on that later if you're Kansas City. You're trying to do something historic and three-peat as a Super Bowl champion for a 3rd straight season. Now, Miami admittedly would have to take on a massive dead cap hit for this year and some for next year, I believe. But if you just want to hit the reset button on this thing, which could anybody blame Miami, the Tua concussion issue is not going away. Even if he returns, every time he takes a hit going forward, you're going to be holding your breath. So not sure that's a long-term solution. The Dolphins look like a mess without him. I think Tyreek is kind of just being wasted in Miami. Like, get him on a contender, ideally a team like the Chiefs who know him well and have wide receiver issues with Marquise Brown and Rashee Rice out. I think this makes a lot of sense. Whether or not Brett Veach will pull the trigger, whether or not the Dolphins would do it, I don't know. But I think it should happen, and I would love to see it happen. Khalil Mack to the Eagles. I think this is a sneaky one that could happen, and here's why. One, Philadelphia's pass rush has been non-existent this year with Vic Fangio. Everybody praised Howie Roseman for trading Hassan Reddick. He did it again, and sure, they're going to get a 2nd or 3rd round pick depending on what happens because it was a conditional pick, but it's not until next year. And they signed Bryce Huff, who just does not fit with Fangio. He needs guys that can play the run, and quite frankly, he hasn't been that dynamic as a pass rusher. Well, how about Khalil Mack, a guy that he turned into a Defensive Player of the Year in Chicago, caliber player in 2018, and is still very productive. He's 33 now. It would be a rental. He's a free agent after this year, but this is a textbook Howie Roseman move. Hey, let's swing big. And he would help a lot. He knows the system. He would instantly be their best pass rusher. And from the Chargers standpoint, yeah, they're 2-2. They're competitive, but they're probably a year or two away with their roster building from truly contending. Is Khalil Mack going to re-sign there? Does that make sense for either side? I think him in Philadelphia under Vic Fangio makes a ton of sense. And the Eagles are desperate. They're trying to make this work. Nick Sirianni's on the hot seat. Jalen Hurts needs to have a good year. He's been up and down so far. Fangio's defense has been a mess. Insert Khalil Mack, who can help the pass rush and hopefully get some other players going on that defense. Amari Cooper to the Bills. The Bills don't have a lot of cap flexibility. That's where Cooper comes in. You only bring in $1.2 million on the cap this year. Pretty kind of seamless transition into that offense, which shouldn't be too tough to learn for Amari. And I think we saw when the Bills played the Ravens, Josh Allen's having an awesome year and he's spreading the ball around. It's still nice to have that wide receiver one who could separate against good corners, which they didn't really have anybody who could do that against Baltimore. That's where Cooper can step in and help. The Browns' season is going nowhere. It's just they're not going to contend. And I think the Bills have an opportunity to make a deep run this year. They're better than expected. Their defense is pretty good. Allen looks awesome, but they don't have that top guy. All of a sudden, you add Amari Cooper, well, Shakir becomes much more dangerous if he's kind of an afterthought. Dalton Kincaid's getting better matchups. You can run the box with James Cook more because you're getting lighter boxes. So I love Cooper's fit in Buffalo, and it's not going to cost them much money. And I don't know, third-round pick probably gets that done. I think that's a win-win for both sides. Jaycee Horn to the Lions. You watch Detroit play. The offense is starting to hum again with Ben Johnson, but that defense has major issues. Terrion Arnold's very grabby as a rookie. He might just need a year to develop there. Their secondary is clearly a weakness. Their defensive line's pretty good, led by Aiden Hutchinson. Their linebackers are good enough, but the secondary is really struggling. Jaycee Horn's had some injury issues. He's in the final year of his rookie deal, but when he's played, which he's healthy right now, he's been pretty damn good. I wouldn't call him like a true lockdown CB1, but you put him opposite of Carlton Davis and let Terrion Arnold kind of take a step back, that's at least a formidable cornerback duo, which right now, Arnold, for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, is just not that viable. Maybe he improves throughout the season. We see this with rookie corners a lot where, in week 4 they look like a disaster, but week 12 they look better. Well, if that happens, that's a good problem to have. Then you have 3 corners you feel at least pretty good about. So I would be sniffing around for a corner if I was Detroit. I think Jaycee Horn is gettable, and I think Carolina would like to add some draft picks. Last one here, DeAndre Hopkins to the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, you said you were all in. This is a perfect move because Hopkins ain't going to cost you a ton in draft compensation. You have the money to absorb his contract, and it's not going to mortgage your future too much. Go get him. Pair him with CeeDee Lamb. He can be your number 2. Brandon Cooks can be your number 3 speed guy. And then you don't have to rely on Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, and these other guys. The Cowboys' running game is putrid. They need to add another weapon on the outside if they're going to lean on the passing game, and Hopkins can still play. So I would go get him. It's probably only going to cost you like a 4th, 5th-round pick to do it. Tennessee would take the draft pick because I don't think re-signing Hopkins would make sense after this year. They just paid Calvin Ridley, so they'd probably just go younger at the position and draft somebody. So I think Hopkins in Tennessee, kind of like Tyreek Hill in Miami right now, just doesn't really make that much sense based on where the teams are and how old the player is. You put him in Dallas, that gives them another really good weapon for Dak Prescott. So there you have it, 6 trade ideas that need to happen before the NFL trade deadline. Remember, if you want a Thursday Night Football reaction show tonight, hit the subscribe button. Let's get 20 new subscribers. And if you want more NFL trade content, like this video and let us know who you think should get traded down in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys soon here on 4 Verts.